Hello everyone. So Lucasfilm have decided to release the footage that was shown at D23 for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Allegedly the final film in the 9-series Skywalker saga. Let's just say 4 now. I'm assuming they didn't want to release it so close to the Mandalorians so they don't clash and kind of negate each other. I've actually already done a trailer breakdown for that if you want to check it out. It's linked below. But maybe watch this, come back to it. Because I want to go through this step by step, including things like the new and old ships, returning characters, an evil C3PO, an evil Rey, what? And of course the return of the Emperor again. I've got more theories on that. Are they good or not? It's neither here nor there, is it? I'm still going to do it. Anyways, if people could leave a like on this, that would be absolutely amazing. I would never, ever forget it. Or you, whatever your name is. Okay, so first up we get the core cast from this new trilogy standing together with some C3PO and Chewbacca in the background. Poe Dameron in his very best Nathan Drake cosplay. But you can also see right in the background, it's like the edge of the Millennium Falcon. So I'm assuming that's the ship they arrived on this planet in. This planet is called Pisana. It's not Tatooine, it's not Jakku. We'll come back to that in a bit. I mentioned this in my last trailer breakdown for this, but yeah, she's reforged the Skywalker lightsaber. It's had some slight tweaks to its design, but also it's been tweaked in each movie for like 40 years. Anyway, I like that you get to see all these core characters together, because the only time that they actually all met each other on screen was at the end of The Last Jedi, if you recall. I'm sure you recall. This appears to be some kind of festival situation. I mean, there's kites and tents and celebrations. That looks like good fun. Great stuff. Don't know what it is. This shot here of General Organa. Now, I don't really have much to say on this other than this looks incredible. It looks like it was filmed just for this footage. I'm sure you're aware, but Carrie Fisher died like 3 years ago now, and they're using leftover footage, mostly from The Force Awakens, I believe, to put her into this, and it just looks flawless. So they've had to like change the location and the clothes and the hair, but if you didn't know she was already gone, you wouldn't think anything of this. It's incredible. Here we get some Resistance ships arriving. Now what's interesting about this is there's a bunch of old ships we haven't seen yet in this new series. There's X-Wings, which we have seen, and they're the newly designed ones from the sequel trilogy. They're actually based on the original concept art that Ralph McQuarrie did for the first Star Wars movie. Anyways, there's also A-Wings, but we did see them in The Last Jedi. But we also get Y-Wings and B-Wings, which I don't believe we've seen in the sequel trilogy as of yet. People were wondering why the bombers weren't used in that bombing scene from The Last Jedi, and it's basically because they're just terribly old ships. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, they actually acquire a bunch of them, and Star Wars Rebels is set just before A New Hope. And even then they're like, these are not good ships and are well out of date. So now, like 40 years on, probably not the best thing to go into battle with, but I'm sure the Resistance is limited in options. Another few things of note though here, there's this ship on the right which looks Falcon-esque, but I don't believe it is. It looks like a newer design. I'm wondering if it's maybe Lando or the ship that Finn's in. But more interestingly than that, this one up front with the radar dish, that's the Tantive 4, I believe, which is the first ship we ever saw in a Star Wars movie. That was rumored to be destroyed by the Empire, but J.J. Abrams has brought it back for this film. It's a nice little callback, I think. And we saw like a behind-the-scenes image of that a while back, I think, at Star Wars Celebration. It's a great ship. It's a good design. I think it was originally supposed to be the Millennium Falcon as well, but they kind of switched it up a bit. Anyways, next thing. Speaking of vintage ships, these Star Destroyers in the atmosphere, they look really close to original model Imperial Star Destroyers from like the original trilogy. Now, I could be wrong, and it is dark, but they don't really look like anything the First Order have used in the other 2 films. So they could be a throwback design, or they could be original ships. I mean, there's a lot of them as well, so I'm not really sure. Here we have Finn. In the background out that window, we get what looks like a B-Wing, which is why I think that ship from earlier might be this one. I don't recognize this cockpit. It's kind of hard to tell from just this. But next to him is also Naomi Aki, who's a new character in this movie by the name of Jana. Here's a short video, her talking about her new character and who she might be.
She is this fierce, strong, powerful woman. She is skillful.
With a lightsaber, maybe?
With a bow and arrow.
Oh.
Space one. And she can ride this creature called an Orback, and she's spent years pulling that together to potentially fight for what is right. Maybe. Who knows?
Also behind her, there's like a Resistance pilot. He's got a helmet on. Who cares? If he's got a helmet on, it's probably no one important. Another character we don't see in this trailer, and we haven't seen in any of the footage yet, that there has been some official images released, is Zouri Bliss, who is the character played by Kerry Russell. There's been speculation that maybe she's Rey's mother, but I'm kind of leaning away from that, because from what she said, she's this cool and shady character, and she's kind of a criminal and an old friend of Poe's. So if she's kind of an old friend of Poe's, and then she turns out to be Rey's mother, it's kind of a massive coincidence. I mean, Star Wars is just one coincidence after the next, but it seems a bit on the nose, if you ask me. Anyway, C3PO with the red eyes. Continuing the tradition of slightly changing his look for each movie to sell different toys, I assume. Now, the red eyes might indicate some kind of kill mode that he has programmed in. Maybe that's carried over from the time that his head was on a battle droid in the Attack of the Clones. Remember that movie? What a good movie. But yeah, what this does remind me of, though, is 000, which is a character that's featured prominently in the Dr. Aphra comics. Basically, he's an evil C3PO. Just a ruthless assassin, torturer, horrible garbage monster with zero morals. And because we've also seen that image of C3PO with a rifle, I wonder whether he's upgraded himself or someone else has, so he's more effective in battle. He's not just kind of running around going, ah! That being said, that's when he does some of his best work, so good on him. The other thing about this character is, and this is fleshed out much more in the books and the comics and the like, and not at all in the movies, is that C3PO has a huge spy network of droids around the galaxy. So he's actually quite useful to the Resistance. He's not just a translator and he brings you tea or whatever. He's a pivotal player. So I wonder for him if this is just another step in that direction to try and help out. All right, here we get a red blast hitting the desert planet of Pisana, I believe. This looks very Starkiller Base energy. It's not another Starkiller Base, because if it was, it would obliterate the entire planet, I assume, probably from an aerial bombardment or something. Also, why'd they call it Starkiller? They should have just called it, look, it's another Death Star, the third one. But yeah, that looks like the same technology that base used. You know, it like absorbs the sun and then shoots it out or whatever. Here we get Rey in what looks like doing some training in the woods. You can see that she's just cut a tree in half in the background there, and then she cuts another one in half in the foreground in an effort to destroy this training remote. Now, these remotes, of course, were first seen canonically when all those younglings were practicing with them with Yoda. But of course, what everyone remembers is Luke Skywalker training with that on the Millennium Falcon. Interesting though, she actually misses it when she throws the lightsaber. Hits a tree, misses the remote. What do you do? Also, it appears as if she's training with a stick. Now, I wonder if this scene takes place after the Pisana stuff on the desert planet, because she's got her staff in that and now she's carrying a stick. So maybe she lost it there. Or she's got a red bandage around her hand, maybe an injury. Maybe it's symbolism. Maybe it's something from that weird festival. But yeah, she catches the lightsaber again. I don't recall in a movie, but there probably is an example of this, probably just talking out my ass, of somebody throwing a lightsaber and then it coming back to them. I mean, Darth Vader threw a lightsaber at Luke in Return of the Jedi, but he didn't get it. It just kind of clattered away. Presumably, he just kind of lurched after it and got it. So yeah, this is kind of a new force power, or use of a force power, that we haven't really seen in the movies, I believe. Next up, we've got Kylo Ren. Behind him, we've got his ship, and this again, I think, is the planet of Pisana. He's a man on a mission. Also, interesting lightning strikes in the background, which makes me think those Star Destroyers are also above Pisana. This is the same event. Okay, here we get them fighting on the wreckage of the Death Star. And we know this because this location looks very similar to what we saw in the last trailer with the ocean and such. I still wonder whether this is the forest moon of Endor, you know, where the Ewoks live, where part of the Death Star crashed into. I talked more about that in the last trailer breakdown. But also we know it's the Death Star because on the left there's a Death Star turret. So there you go. And of course, this shot here, Rey with a double side-by-side lightsaber, which flips out into a lightsaber staff. Now, showing this in the trailer indicates to me that she's probably not going to go dark in this movie, or not for the whole thing. I mean, every character in every trilogy is tempted by the dark side, but I'm presuming she's going to do the same thing that Luke did and kind of push back from it. Though I would love it if they ended the trilogy like this, and then we have to wait like 20 years to see what happened next. But yeah, the cloak is Darth Maul-esque, the lightsaber is Darth Maul-esque. Though interestingly, on StarWars.com, the official website, and I saw this from the Steel Wars Hyper Chat, he's a big Star Wars fan. He does a bunch of great stuff like podcasts and videos and things like that. You should check them out. Anyways, he mentioned that on the Star Wars website, the way that this moment was described was changed on the website. The first version said that this is a vision. So this could just be a potential vision of the future. Also, quick thing here, but it might be nothing. Looks like Rey's wearing a ring, and it looks like a darkened version of the ring that we see Leia wear. There's a really good shot of it in the last trailer where they're hugging. Look at that. Could be the same. Maybe it isn't. And of course, we also get the voice of Darth Sidious in this. The Emperor. Now again, we don't see him, but I want to talk a little bit more about that. So here's a theory that I'm sure other people have floated. Kylo Ren, it seems, in The Force Awakens, is talking to Darth Vader through the helmet, communing with his evil spirit and whatnot. But of course, Darth Vader turned good. He turned back into Hayden Christensen. He got handsome again. He probably got all his limbs back and everything. So what I think might be possible in this, and this might be part of Sidious's resurrection, is that when Darth Vader pitched him down the center of the Death Star 2, maybe some of his essence or spirit was absorbed in Darth Vader's armor, specifically the helmet. And you see that when it happens, all the lightning goes into it, it makes like a skull kind of reflection on it. So basically the whole time, instead of him thinking he's chatting to Anakin, he's actually chatting to Palpatine. And look, even if it's not the helmet, I feel like Sidious's spirit is like trapped in something. Maybe a piece of the Death Star or that giant chair that he's in. Who knows? Who knows anything? And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous. But the thing is, there is precedent for that in the Star Wars universe. In the Darth Vader comic, there's a character called Momin, who when he dies, his spirit is trapped in his helmet, and he actually manages to return from death. And the way that works is you put the helmet on someone and then they become him, and he eventually somehow opens up a portal and a past version of him walks through, he puts on the helmet and he's back. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with the return of the Emperor. So he's not a clone or like a spooky ghost, or maybe he is for a bit, and then he physically returns. So yeah, that's just a theory, but we'll have to see, won't we, when the movie comes out. Anyways, like this trailer indicates, this seems like it's going to be a celebration of all the Star Wars movies, in particular the core 9 ones. I'd imagine there's going to be Force ghosts galore. Now that we're getting that Obi-Wan TV series, I bet we're going to get his ghost and probably Anakin's ghost. I mean, there's callbacks to ships and planets and all sorts of stuff going on. I mean, it's the end of an era, you know what I mean? And I do wonder how these films are going to be regarded down the road. I know there's a lot of hate for this sequel trilogy. I actually quite like it as of so far. But people, you know, they've really come around on the prequels. And the thing about this movie is, you know, I like the characters for the most part. And no matter how it turns out, whether this movie be good or not be good, I feel like it'll be sad to see them go. For the time being, at least, until they bring them back in like 20 years or whatever. Anyways, what are your theories? What are your Dark Ray theories? How will the Emperor return? How will Star Wars end? Do you like Star Wars anymore? It seems like a lot of people hate Star Wars now. I think there's a lot of good Star Wars stuff still, and hopefully some good stuff on the way. Anyways, there's videos here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Please subscribe and bell icon if you want to check any of those out. As I mentioned, there's that Mandalorian video, and also I have a podcast called The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. This Monday's episode, the one just gone, we go through everything D23. The time code's in the description of that if you want to jump around to a particular topic. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. I genuinely appreciate it. Take care.